the Providence Airport, as well as from Logan and even Manchester. We will be in Foxborough on Monday for all things Patriots and Ravens. This guy back on the beat with the Patriots, these many years. He is the beat writer at the Boston Globe for all things Belichick and Brady, and here come the Ravens, Jim McBride. And, you're getting the best version of the Ravens here. The folks down here believe we have a chance on Monday night.
Yeah, I definitely think so. They play so often. It's almost like a division game for these two teams now. There's a lot of familiarity, a lot of contempt. I know these teams don't like each other very much. There's certainly a history between Tom Brady and Terrell Suggs. So I imagine that's going to keep up this week. And, it looks like the Ravens are really turning things on. So I think this is going to be a really good Monday night game.
Well, let's start at the beginning of the seeds of all of this stuff, and we'll get to the actual football because I've got that. But there's a special place in Patriot lore for the Ravens and Dean Pease and the Ravens' role in Deflategate as told by the insiders there, correct?
Yes, I think so. I think there's definitely, there's some deep-seated hate not only between the franchises but between the fan bases as well. And I know walking through the parking lots on several of the games leading up to in Foxborough, there's no love lost between the fans. They're shouting at each other. Then you go right to the field and they're shouting at each other. And you even go to the staffs and they might not be shouting at each other, but there's always those subtle digs you hear on the radio and during the press conferences where maybe it takes you a second to say, hey, I think he just took a shot at the other guy, but it's there.
Well, yeah, I'll take a few shots at you through this thing here, and I've been sharing like Cheaties, instead of Wheaties, box covers as memes. We got Tom Brady in a pink skirt. We do all of that, but I will say this: I look down at Brady, and I'm blown away. I didn't know the stats. Like talking to you guys, 19 touchdowns and 1 interception. I don't. At what point is that train going to slow down? And I would think taking guys like Gronkowski out of it certainly slow things down. That's for sure, right?
Yeah, I think so. But it's funny, you look at the record for the fewest interceptions thrown in a season, and it's 5. And here we are with 4 games left, and Brady's only thrown 1. And you remember that he's the third quarterback that's played for the Patriots this year. The other 2 guys, Garoppolo and Brissett, have 0. So it's even, it's a whole staff that's just been amazing. And the receivers have been exceptional. You always get a couple of those tip ball interceptions every year, but these guys so far this year have been hanging on the ball, so there really hasn't been those opportunities to snatch the ball away.
Through all of this stuff, and I go through this with the Ravens and the Orioles. The Orioles are in winter meetings right now, and the expectation for the Orioles is lower. Their expectation for the Ravens is higher. In New England, and I think beyond all this, and look, I am not a Belichick fan or an admirer. I believe all the cheating, all the conspiracy, all the espionage. I believe all of it to get an edge, whatever. But I'm really an integrity guy at heart. So I harbor whatever that would be. But beyond that, there's a level of expectation in that building that I think it just goes without saying, but it's different in a lot of other places where they're always trying to raise the bar. Walking into New England, here's where the bar is. And I guess part of that goes back to the Ron Rivera and the Cam Newton thing this week and that sort of feud. You wouldn't see Belichick and Brady do this, right?
Absolutely not. You hear it from the rookies all the way up to the veterans, and especially when the rookies walk in that place, and after a week or so when they're there and we get a chance to talk to them, they're all like, we can't believe this organization. It's just everybody is expected to be, on point all the time. There's never expected to be any drop-off when a guy goes down. They one of the standard lines the rookies always gives us is, we practice as hard as a veteran, so when our number's called, that staff expects us to perform as as we're the starter. And when your best player on your team is also the guy that's first in the locker room, last out, puts the most time in, is the most dedicated player on your roster, then how can a rookie really walk in there and say, well, geez, if this 17-year veteran's doing it, then I better get my house in order too.
I took a stranger to a game last year, and he's a musician. He's semi-famous, but he's a soccer fan, not a football fan. And I tried to express to him what made Ray Lewis special, and he understands. If I came from Mars and said, hey, Tom Brady a little bit, you're around it, tell me what makes him so special. At this point in his career, I think the numbers speak for themselves, what he's doing, what he's trying to do, the tall task that the Ravens Ravens have on Monday to go up there and beat them in Foxborough. But at this point in his career, we're seeing it a little bit with Steve Smith here. Like, I get a little bit of that vibe of he's trying to really spike the ball to make sure none of you guys with Hall of Fame passes could go into a meeting and say he's not a Hall of Famer. And I think Suggs is doing a little bit of that too. But Brady now has a chance, now that Manning's gone, Favre's gone. You can say about Roethlisberger or even Drew Brees or Rodgers. Brady's sort of painting in a different palette right now for what the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years could look like, because it looks like he has intentions of doing that, right?
Yeah, I think if you had two words to describe him, it would be intensity and enthusiasm. The guy is always laser focused, and he's never really, since the time he was a rookie, when he took over as a second-year player in 2001, he's never really dropped off his enthusiasm for the game and his focus and his preparation. I mean, this is a guy who's fallen into a routine here, and I think that when they go off course or that doesn't sit well with him in the locker room or on the field. So he sets the bar high, and he expects everyone to perform just as well, and he expects everyone to prepare as well as he does. He's a guy that not only knows what the quarterback is doing, but he knows what every guy on that offense is doing, and generally speaking, he knows what every guy on that defense is doing. And if you're not on the same page with him, well, boy, you're going to get pulled pretty quick.
Is he liked by the Boston media? I mean, the Boston media forever has had hard times with all sorts of people in all sorts of ways in covering teams, but this is the greatest team Boston's ever seen. No offense to the Red Sox and what they've done, and Theo and Schilling and that whole Pedro and Ortiz and all that. But this is really something where I don't know that many of you in the business of criticizing or critiquing the Patriots have a whole lot to bitch about over 15 years. You don't see gaffes, you don't see mistakes, that they never really get out-coached. Maybe once in a while, Belichick had that sort of famous thing where at the end of a game had to walk off in shame one time. But, it's not normal how much winning they do there. And after the Deflategate thing and all of this, when all the dust is settled, nationally, guys like me will think they did a lot more cheating than they got caught for. But it feels like on the inside in the Boston media, and I don't even mean it to be flippant, but it's just like, I think people there genuinely like Brady. Maybe they don't like Belichick, but they respect how much effort he puts into winning and how hard it is to win.
Yeah, I think that's completely accurate. With Tom, it's more of a cordial relationship with the media. I mean, we don't get him a lot one-on-one. It's very rare. He does his weekly press conference on Wednesdays, which actually has been pushed back to Fridays most weeks now. And he speaks after the games. But other than that, he's not in the locker room much to go up and
really?
break up a one-on-one conversation
See,
with him.
See, that's interesting, Jim, because, Joe Flacco stands in the middle of the locker room week in, week out. Ray was kind of like that for the first 10 years, The last 5 or 6 years with Ray, it was a little more of a hide-and-seek game. But Joe's not that way. I don't think Joe would be comfortable with that. I don't think Joe would be comfortable with hiding somewhere from the 15 or 20 people that chase the team around. I had a feeling it's a little different with Brady, but Flacco's not that way,
Well, I'm not sure hiding is the right word. I think his day is so planned out that I don't think there's a second that he's not doing something or with the intention of doing something, whether it's treatment, whether it's film work, whether it's this. And he's just set it out where, on Wednesdays I'm speaking between 11:40 and noon, and on game days I'm there and I'm available. But it's never like he's sitting in his locker and you can't approach him. He's like, if he's in the locker room, he's in there and he's grabbing something, a pad, or he's grabbing an iPad, or he's grabbing something else that he needs to go to a meeting for, or he needs to go meet with the trainers for. So he's just one of these guys where every second is parceled out. And as far as Bill goes, Bill's very accessible to the media. We meet with him 4 or 5 times a week. There's not a whole lot of one-on-ones, but he answers every question. It might not be the answer you're looking for, but if you have a solid football question for Bill, you're going to get a solid football answer. And oftentimes we've said this here in the local media a lot. His Friday morning press conferences are almost like a history lesson, because he has that an encyclopedic memory for the game. And if you ask him a question about say the development of a third down back in the NFL, well, he's going to go back to the 50s and tell you guys that played at Navy and guys that did this, and it's sometimes you forget you're at a press conference. You almost think you're at a class, and it's pretty enjoyable, to be honest.
Well, I've sat at those shindigs at the owners' meetings. I go to the owners' meetings every year, and the table surrounds at 8:00 in the morning, over eggs and bacon. And sometimes Belichick has shown up, sometimes he has not shown up. When he has shown up, it has been, literally like a presidential address to some degree. Certainly, probably make more sense than some of our presidential addresses coming up here. But in the case of Belichick and Brady, what they've built there, everyone tries to go up and tear it down. And this is a real opportunity for the Ravens here. How are the Patriots playing, and how do you expect them to do without Gronkowski moving forward? Because certainly on our end, we feel a lot better about the chances of going up there and winning on Monday night without Rob Gronkowski. Matter of fact, 3-4 weeks ago, we gave ourselves not a lot of shot to go up there and win. Now I think based on where the health of the Ravens is getting, the expectations are a little higher on Monday night. Feelings are going to be hurt if they don't win up there on Monday.
Yeah, well, I think expectations should be high. This is going to be a good game, and I think that it's long been the thought among the Boston writers anyway is that Baltimore is one of those teams that's not afraid to come in here and play the Patriots. So like a lot of teams, it almost seems like they're defeated before they walk through one Patriot place, but that's not the case with the Ravens, and I'm sure that's a testament to Coach Harbaugh and Joe Flacco and Ray Lewis and the legacy that he left, but. Guys just don't walk in there and soil themselves when they see the Patriots like a lot of other teams do, and I think that's why these games are so competitive and so entertaining.
Well, and the other part of this with leadership, Harbaugh being here for almost a decade now, Suggs predating him, Flacco coming in, Sam Cook predates all of that. I remember the AFC Championship game we lost, the Cundiff game. The next year we're in the same spot. It was like deja vu all over again. And Terrell Suggs is tweeting out, "Well, here we are again." You know what I mean? And I'm sure when the buses roll in there under the darkness of a Monday night and the chill in the air and the lights on and, most of these guys, most of the key guys on the team, they know this road, and guys like Weddle, who it's sort of new for in this environment, also know that road, and they know what this represents, and I don't think it's too big for them. I would agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely not. I think that one of the things that made the Patriots so successful is they really don't overlook any opponents either. I mean, you're going to get their top-notch focus whether you're playing the Cleveland Browns or whether you're playing the Baltimore Ravens. And I think that's what keeps a lot of these guys in the locker room grounded, is to not look past anyone. And that sounds like a cliche in a lot of locker rooms, but having been around these guys, that's their mentality. They never overlook anyone. I mean, they know that on any given day that a team can upset them. You look at the Philadelphia game last year. I don't think anyone gave the Eagles much of a shot to beat the Patriots, but yet they did. And then this year with Buffalo at home, I mean, they hadn't beaten the Patriots at home in forever, and they shut them out. So it's an unbelievable amount of respect for every opponent, and I'm sure in the deeper recesses of the Patriots' mind, it's an even deeper respect for a team like the Ravens, which has come in here and shown that they can beat the Patriots, not only in the regular season, but in the playoffs as well.
Jim McBride covers all things Patriots for the Boston Globe. You can follow his journey out at the Globe website, bostonglobe.com, as well as at Globe Jim McBride out on Twitter. All right, so let's talk about the offense and talk about spreading the ball around and what happens with life after Gronk for this offense and who is going to be responsible for beating the Ravens on Monday night within the framework of this offense.
Well, I think a guy that you see an uptick in play is rookie receiver Malcolm Mitchell, who's really shown over the last few weeks that he's gained Brady's trust. He had an injury early in the preseason that kind of set him back a little after a great camp, but he's kind of rounding back into form now, and he's a guy that's sneaky fast. He has, pretty good size, 6'1", and he knows the routes. He can play inside. They use him mainly outside, but he can play both, and he's got a very reliable set of hands. So I think they're going to look to him. Marty Bennett will certainly get more than his share of touches. And then I think the new formation with the kind of the pony backfield where they have Dion Lewis and James White both in the backfield at the same time, it gives them an element of surprise, because generally speaking, when you see Dion in the game as single back, they're throwing the ball. When you see LeGarrette Blount in the game as a single back, they're running the ball. But when those guys are in there together, James White and Dion Lewis, you don't really know what they're going to do. So the element of surprise is there, too, because those guys can both run it and they can catch it.
In the case of Blount, you've been around this a long time, as good a back as they've had around there. I mean, they've never set the world on fire with Pro Bowl receivers or running backs, really, right?
Correct. I mean, I think, you'd have to go back to Curtis Martin for the last time they really had a Pro Bowl running back. And Blount is running this year as fresh and as well as I've ever seen him as a Patriot. He came into camp. He had definitely, I don't want to say lost weight, but his body type changed. He became more muscular than bulky. And he's really looked, this has probably been his best season as a pro. He's just like 58 yards, I think, shy of 1,000, and he looks fresh. And the thing about Blount is he can get knocked back for a -1, -2, like 3 or 4 carries in a row, but eventually he's going to get his. And by the fourth quarter, he tends to wear defenses down. And a lot of times these defenders, their tongues are wagging by the fourth quarter, and Blount looks fresh. And I think conditioning had a lot to do with that.
Well, and obviously Edelman's getting the bulk of the catches, but not really the vertical kind of threat, but certainly opens things up. And, he's having another fine year, but it's a specialized position what he does, right?
It is, yep. I mean, he's a guy that he works the slot to perfection. He's always on the same page with Brady. I think the two of them spend a lot of time together, even off the field, practicing, focusing, and Tom always knows where he is. And, he gets open so quickly underneath that it really does open things up for a guy like Malcolm Mitchell and Chris Hogan, who's shown really sneaky fast speed this year from the wideout position.
Jim McBride joining us here for the Boston Globe. All right, are they going to win the Super Bowl? Do you have those kind of expectations for them at this point without Gronkowski, or is that sort of a fatal flaw in what they were trying to do? Because certainly with him, they were a different kind of team. You had to defense them differently. Yeah,
well, I'll say this. I still think they're the favorite in the AFC to get to the Super Bowl. Whether they can win the Super Bowl, that's another question. I think that, obviously Baltimore and Oakland are a couple of teams that can definitely give them a run for their money to get to the Super Bowl in the AFC. But, Seattle looks really good. Dallas looks really good. Tough to say they're going to win it, but I think the expectations around for everyone here is that they're still going to reach the Super Bowl and that they're right now the class of the AFC along with the Raiders.
If they don't, what happens with the Collins situation? I mean, I guess a guy like Belichick in this organization gets a pass on that, but no one else could have traded a player like that away in Week 7, right?
Yeah, it's certainly it opens up for second guessing, but the move still perplexes a lot of us up here, but I'm sure there were off the field issues that we don't know about, and whether they just had at their wits' end with this guy off the field, we don't know. We probably never will know because Jamie's not a very vocal guy either. Having been around him for a couple of years, he probably said more in his first press conference in Cleveland than he had in his entire tenure in New England. He just wasn't he was a very soft-spoken guy, and he was the guy that would definitely duck the media in the locker room. So, love to get to the bottom of that story, but we'll see if not having that kind of spy linebacker comes back to haunt them.
Have you noticed a difference? And I guess over the last couple of weeks, they haven't been playing the kind of competition where you would notice that, right?
Correct, and they've got some new bodies in there, Shea McClellan, Landon Roberts, Kyle Van Noy, that they're kind of working in to see exactly where they fit in this defense. And, I think they're making strides every week. Kyle Van Noy had a very good game last week. He had a bunch of tackles, and he had an interception. And this is a guy that, he was kind of given up for in Detroit, and they made that trade for him. And all of a sudden, he looks like he's a reborn player. He looks like the guy that played at BYU and was such a star. So we'll see if he continues to develop. I don't think any one of them has the athleticism of a Jamie Collins. That's pretty rare, but you put these guys in sub packages and let them shine in their roles, and all of a sudden people kind of forget about Collins.
Jim, save me some clam chowder up there at Foxborough. We're going to see you on Monday night, and I don't want to say that I enjoy making the trip, but I am familiar with it, and it's a hell of a setting to watch a football game.
Sure is.
We'll see you on Monday. Thanks, Jim.
All right, thank you.
You got it, Jim McBride from the Boston Globe. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at Globe, Jim McBride, as well as BostonGlobe.com. You can find me out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault all week long here at WNST.net. Just click on And download the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in. It takes about 30 seconds, and we're crystal clear. No static at all, like Steely Dan FM, all that good stuff, except it's AM 1570. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me day or night. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on Facebook Live, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Charleston, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.